Everybody watching this video right now, you all are currently in the bridge of incidents between where you're at and whatever manifestation you are trying to accomplish. I think many of us lose sight of the fact that every single day that goes by, we are getting closer and closer to whatever it is that we want to manifest in our lives. And we tend to think that we are behind or we're not where we need to be. And we tend to forget how much progress we've actually made when it comes to where we were at last month, 6 months ago, or whatever the case may be. Something that I realized working with people all of these years and recently talking to Tim and thinking about some people that we're working with is oftentimes in a very short period of time, people don't realize how far they've come. We will work with people for maybe a month or so. They will get so frustrated and they will feel like, oh, this is not working, I'm behind. And Tim and I are on the outside looking in because when you're going through it, a lot of times you don't realize how far you are. You know, when you're in the storm, everything just seems brutal. But when you're on the outside looking in, usually you have a much clearer vision. It's much harder for people that are in the storm to kind of have that positive, optimistic mindset. They say, oh man, I'm just so far behind. Nothing's working, I don't know what to do. And Tim and I are like, dude, do you realize how much movement you had? Do you realize how much movement you've had in the last 30 days, in the last 2 weeks? I mean, some of the stuff that Tim and I have seen in working with clients, the growth, the movement has been remarkable. Literally in a matter of 30 days or less, or in a matter of a couple of months. So you guys always have to give yourself credit and remember that even when it doesn't feel like it, you guys all are right now in the gap. You are bridging the gap between where you're at and wherever you want to be. You're currently building that bridge. As we all say in this community, the bridge of incidents. So don't give up. Whatever you're going through right now, whether it's an SP, whether it's a job situation, whether it's you trying to start your own career or business, don't give up. The reason why a lot of you guys, in my opinion, feel like giving up on whatever it is that you're trying to manifest is because the one thing that I've noticed is most people don't stay consistent, and they probably need to do a lot more than they are currently doing. And with that comes the responsibility of not calling on God when everything is going well, but instead only calling on Him when you need something. Right? If you want to use those terms, God. That is a big thing that I see from people in life in general, is when things are going well in their life, they never take time to really think. They never take time to really, I don't know if you want to use the word communion. You know, we have all these terms that you can use. They just never stop to talk to the universe. They never stop to talk to themselves. They never stop to check in with themselves. They never stop to meditate. They don't do any of these things. They just keep living, not realizing they could potentially be digging a deeper hole day in and day out. But they feel like nothing is wrong with their lives. They feel like, oh, everything's going well. I don't need to meditate. I don't need to stop and give thanks. I don't need to do any of that. But then when things turn bad, when you lose your SP, when you lose that job, now all of a sudden you want to start to try to do the work again. Not realizing that, to me, this LOA work, it never stops. So many people think this work stops. No, LOA is a lifelong journey. And I watched another content creator today, Sheila J. I saw her on TikTok and she was talking about it, and you guys have kind of heard me allude to this before, these microwave manifestations. We want to get what we want, and we want it so fast that we become impatient, and we don't realize part of the process is patience. And again, you guys have heard me quote Neville before. Neville talked about this. A horse, it takes longer for a horse to be born than it takes for a hen or a chicken or a human being to be born. Like it takes longer for all of these things have different time frames into birth. And it's no different than whatever it is that we want to manifest in our lives. And so I just want to hop on here and remind all of you is to stop falling out of your routine when things are going good, or when things are going okay and you think, oh nah, I don't need to build upon my foundation anymore. I don't need to do any more techniques. I don't need to meditate today. I don't need to do any of this. Because the thing, like I said, when things seem to be going really bad in people's lives, this is when people try to turn to this stuff. But if you would turn to this stuff consistently, whether things are going good or if things are going bad, if you would turn to this stuff consistently like that, on that level, a lot of the stuff you guys think that's bad, it wouldn't even strike you as bad. You wouldn't even handle those situations the same way. You wouldn't look at a situation like, oh man, this happened, that happened, because you've been doing the work consistently. Whether it's rain or shine, you're still waking up every day and you're still giving thanks. Consistency is what's always gonna win. When you are consistent doing the work and problems show up, whatever the problem is, you're gonna get through it a lot quicker because you've trained yourself to have a certain mindset, a certain outlook on dealing with these problems or dealing with life. But when you don't have that practice and problems show up, you don't know what to do. You kind of panic. And then you run to YouTube, you run to videos, and you start trying to figure out like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? You guys know what to do. You just gotta stay consistent. That's all it's ever been about, is consistency. So when your SP does come back, or when you do get that dream job, or when you do move into that place, whatever manifestation you get that comes into fruition, after that happens, don't think the work is done. Don't stop doing the work. The work never stops until you go in the ground. We are constantly evolving. And too many times, I hate to say it, but people, they just stop doing the work once they get what they want. And they think, oh, everything's good now, and then they fall right back into old habits. And then what happens is they end up losing their SP again, or they end up losing that job, or they think to themselves, why is work not going well? Why is this not going well? What am I doing wrong? What you're doing wrong is you stopped. You stopped having communion. You stopped having that quiet time. You stopped meditating. You stopped visualizing. You stopped scripting. You stopped doing affirmations. Whatever the technique is, you stopped doing it. So again, understand you are in the bridge of incidents right now as we speak to getting your specific person back. You are in the bridge of incidents to getting that job, to getting that dream place, or whatever the case may be. Even though it doesn't feel like it, you are in the middle of the bridge of incidents right now. So don't think that you are behind. You're not. You're exactly where you need to be. And in due time, you'll wake up one day and you'll realize, oh man, it's right here. And then once you realize that, then it's time to actually deal with it. Now you got to deal with managing whatever it is that you manifest. And that's a whole nother animal, a whole nother video. Talking to the people in our group, in our SP Mastermind group, and people that we work with one-on-one, the one thing that I realized, and I knew this, but it just always reminds me, is we don't realize how much the bad things that we are going through are leading us to the good things that we want to manifest. And we don't understand it in the time, and it sucks at times, but some of these stories that I hear from people that we're working with is like, oh yeah, this happened, that happened. And it's something that you would probably consider bad in the moment, but then out of it was birthed your manifestation. We had somebody in the group that was like that. I don't remember the story off the top of my head, plus I'm driving, so it's kind of all over the place. But at the end of the day, their bad mood and their bad and stuff that was happening with them ended up allowing them to be axed out by somebody that they wanted to be axed out by. It's like you never know what bad stuff that you're going through is actually leading you to what you want. And a lot of times we don't realize that we're in a storm. We're like, why do we keep going through this? Why do we keep going through that? But it's the awakening process in a sense. And it sucks because it's going to be that way for a lot of people. A lot of people's awakening process sucks. Like, awakening is nothing like what a lot of YouTubers try to make it sound to be. Awakening for a lot of people is really dark. Awakening is really dark and it sucks, and stuff comes from the subconscious mind. And that's what Florence talks about, you know, stuff coming from the subconscious mind that was buried for years. That's why it's always darkest before dawn, she speaks of. Why do these bad things keep happening to me? The law of reverse effort kicks in and you think you're doing everything right. And you're like, but I'm not getting what I want. But that's the reason why, because the awakening process for so many, it sucks. It's not this, oh, I'm gonna listen to Abraham Hicks once or twice, everything is gonna be fixed. So I'm gonna listen to Neville once or twice, or read a Neville book once, and my awakening process is gonna be so smooth. No. And see, these YouTubers, a lot of these YouTubers, you know who's a great YouTuber to listen to? Teal Swan. Teal Swan, I love Teal Swan. I've been listening to her for years. But Teal Swan, she gets into these, she doesn't do this whole spiritual bypassing bullshit that most YouTubers do. Teal Swan, she speaks on a lot of stuff that most YouTubers will never talk about because they don't even understand really, they don't even comprehend. But Teal Swan talks a lot about getting into that state of when you are in the process of healing and how ugly and nasty that is for some people, or a lot of people, to be frank. So don't think your spiritual awakening journey is gonna be this easy, or don't think this getting your SP journey is gonna be easy for you, because for a lot of people it's not. It's not as simple as I'm gonna say affirmations and my SP is gonna show back up. No. I've said this religiously, you guys know. This is exactly why y'all continue to lose your SP, because affirmations are a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. Most people don't really wanna do the work. Most people don't wanna admit that the work is gonna be hard. The work is going to be hard for most of you. Depending on your beliefs, depending on how you approach this, it's gonna be difficult. And that's the reality that most people won't tell you. They just want you to, they want you to get caught up in the sensationalism. Oh yeah, you're gonna get what you want quick and it's gonna be easy and you're not gonna feel pain, you're not gonna cry. No, I can assure you, for most of you, a lot of y'all are gonna cry, for sure. A lot of you guys are gonna feel frustration, for sure. But again, like I said, from that, what is birthed is you reaching that ultimate state. You hear people say you gotta go through the fire sometimes. You gotta go through the fire and come out on top. You hear people say pressure makes diamonds. All of that stuff is true to me, and it sucks. But again, some of you guys won't have to go through that. It really depends on you, in my opinion, in your life and how you were raised and the stuff that you've gone through, But for a lot of you guys that have gone through a lot of stuff, you can bet that your awakening is probably not gonna be pretty. And you can bet that it's probably gonna take you a lot longer than it's gonna take other people. But that's okay though, because if it took you 30 years to build these bad habits, 40 years to build these bad habits, guess what? It's not gonna take you nowhere near as long to undo those bad habits. It could take you less than a year to undo those bad habits. Think about that. You took 30 years to build up bad habits, bad thinking patterns, bad thinking processes, etc. It took you all those years to build up those patterns, those habitual patterns. But I assure you, it'll probably take you, if you do this work correctly, it'll take you a fraction of the time to get it right. Less than a year or a couple years around that time. But some of you could take longer. The only reason it's gonna take longer is because some of you guys aren't doing the work religiously and you're getting caught up in life and you're getting caught up in your daily routine and not thinking you need to do the work and, oh, I feel good this week, so I'm not gonna do anything, and then something bad happens and then you wanna try to utilize it. Again, consistency is what wins. So keep that in the back of your head. It's been another episode of yours truly, Marv's Room.